welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast. Now, my next guest is co-founder and chief visibility officer of Vengresso, the world's largest digital sales transformation company. He is a contributing expert to several of LinkedIn's blogs and guides, and also contributes to many featured publications. Now, you can see her off-grid, diving, hang gliding, hiking the Colorado hills. So we've managed to tie her down to get her on to Scale Your Sales podcast. So welcome, Viveka von Rosen. Well, it's great to have you on here. Now, I know that you're known as the LinkedIn expert, and that's how people can reach you on Twitter. You're so active with your authoring of books, LinkedIn Marketing Hour a Day, which is what we all want. That's what we all wish for. And then in 101 Ways to Rock Your Personal Brand. I'm interested, how did this become your gig? How did where did you start with this? And how did you, kind of decide that you're going to dominate in this area?
Well, I like to say I got the Twitter handle and then I had to prove it was true. But really, I was running a business center, a co-share space, they're called now. And I wasn't so good at actually managing people, but I loved the whole networking and marketing part of it. And so I would bring people in to speak about different things. And I brought a woman in, my friend Lori Maycomber, to talk about Web 2.0, which shows you how long ago it was. It was such a thing that the web was interactive, right? So, 2006-ish. And she mentioned this thing at the very end of the program called LinkedIn. I was like, oh, wow, there's like 7 or maybe it was 12 million members. No, there's 7 million members. And then by the time I joined, there were 12. But, that was a big number back then. Now it's 650 million users and we're like, whatevs. But back then, the idea that you could actually connect and engage with people from all over the world, because we had a virtual aspect to our business, I mean, that was huge, huge, huge for us. So I learned everything I could about LinkedIn, and one of the associations, international associations that we were a member of, heard I was teaching LinkedIn and invited me to come speak to their people. And so my first official speaking gig as an adult was at the Waldorf Astoria, the ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria, to a bunch of million and billionaires. I don't think I've had a net worth like that since, because since then it's been marketing and sales. But that helped. And then there was an app back in the day that you could pull your LinkedIn blog into your LinkedIn profile. And so Wiley was looking for someone to write their next book, and they reached out to me. And so I said, oh yes, I'll do that. And it just, from there, it just kind of cycled up and skyrocketed. But I was, good timing, good timing, seizing the opportunity, a lot of luck combined. But but the short answer is I got the LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube handle at LinkedIn Expert. Now I have to prove it.
And you have to keep proving it as well.
I have to keep proving it. I can't get lazy. Exactly.
So we're all having to live through this pandemic. What would you say to sellers? What do they need to do to come out strong?
Yeah, it's, it's fortunate for us because it's what we do, but they have to learn how to take their skill set, especially if they had more of an in-person skill set, a meeting across, the desk, or meeting at conferences or trade shows. They need to take, or the golf course, they need to take that skill set and bring it online, needless to say. So they need to use the different tools that are out there, certainly LinkedIn, of course, to find, connect, and engage, or find, engage, and connect with their prospects. But, other things like Zoom, or, we all love Zoom, but there's numerous ways that people can still have those face-to-face conversations. It's just, of course, over a computer now. But don't get wrapped up in the technology piece of it. Don't worry about, what you're wearing necessarily, or is the lighting okay? Although that's handy. but you really need to think about how can I bring those skills, that personality, that charisma, you know, whatever it is that made you a good salesperson, how can I bring that across using video until the point where we can meet face to face again. So it's taking what you already know, maybe just transforming it a little bit for that virtual interaction, but continuing to use all the great online tools that we already had pre-COVID to find and engage with those prospects.
So what's your view, what our business world will look like? Because there's going to be a lot of people that discover they love this,
Yeah.
this suits them.
Yes.
I mean, I, like you, work from home with a lot of my clients.
Yeah.
So I dread getting on the tube, 2 hours drive or going somewhere and all of those things in rush hour, you know, sniffing someone's armpits and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So those people that have to do it every day, they
Yeah.
might be thinking, actually, I do not want to go back to the way I used to work. Our customers, our business systems have aligned to actually
Yeah.
enable people to work from home. Why do I need to continue to do this?
Absolutely.
So, you know, what's your view on what the environment, the business environment will look like? How much of it will go back to the way it was?
Yeah, so interesting you should ask that. I've been thinking about it, but LinkedIn LinkedIn editors do a LinkedIn live show a couple times a day. And so one of the guests that they had yesterday was Barbara Corcoran, who's in US, you know, she's on Shark Tank and she's a huge
Massive.
real estate owner, right? So she's got a lot of businesses and a lot of real estate. And so one of the things she said is commercial real estate is going to take a hit because yeah, it's like companies are realizing, you know, remote working doesn't mean that we're at home eating bonbons and playing with our children. Sometimes we are, but it also means that the 4 hour or the 2 hour, even the 1 hour commute can be used now to be productive. It means that, you know, people who are remote working, we know this because we've been doing it for a long time, but people who are remote working, they're not working 9 to 5, you know, they're working 8 to 6. So they're actually putting in more hours. And I think what companies are going to realize is, you know, maybe we should trust our employees and let the ones where it makes sense, let them work remotely. So I think there's going to be a big shift in companies that are finally allowing their folks to work remotely, which means they probably won't need all of the office space, which means, you know, some commercial real estate is going to take a hit. Companies that are unwilling to let their folks work remotely, even though it's been proven that, you know, they're more productive, they're going to have people leaving. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a glut, but I think good salespeople will always be able to find a job, and they'll be able to find jobs at places that let them work remotely. So yeah, definitely a lot is going to change there, but I feel like companies have to pay attention, and they're going to have to really pay attention to what their salespeople and their marketing team and everybody else, but to what the salespeople need, and hopefully provide them with those tools. Hopefully they're doing that right now, right? They're purchasing the cameras for them. They're getting the lighting for them. They're helping them buy the second monitors if they need them. A lot of salespeople are taking that expense upon themselves. But I'm hoping that companies understand how powerful remote selling can be. And eventually, you know, we'll be able to go back to trade shows and we'll be able to go to conferences, and we can still do that face to face, because nothing, even video, doesn't quite replace the actual face to face where you can not only see and hear someone, but like, you know, I don't want to say smell them, but you have an even better sense of who people are when you are in their presence. But until then, video is a great solution. So it'll be very interesting to see if companies on the other side of this are able to pivot and take the best of what we've learned and apply it to the new normal.
So talking about change and shifting, Do you think that in the B2B sales has shifted enough towards buyer or customer centricity?
It needs to. I think if there's a gift in COVID-19, it's the fact that we are all going through some version of the same thing all at once. We've never had, even with the world wars, even with previous pandemics, because of the connectivity of the world that we have right now. I mean, you're in England, I'm in Colorado. We're all experiencing some version of the same disruption. And so I think the empathy that creates is allowing us to, as B2B, B2C, government, whatever, but especially in the B2B world, it's allowing us to understand our customer more as a human being than, client. and the I think the problem is, especially with LinkedIn, people still just like jump on there and go, okay, I'm on LinkedIn, and so I'm going to connect with someone, I'm going to sell them stuff. But, you know, we've all seen it, right? How many people in the very invitation message is a sales pitch, or, they invite you to connect, you accept it, and the next thing you know, you're on some newsletter that you did not sign up for, and the follow-up message is buy our stuff, right? So I don't know why salespeople, and in particular B2B salespeople, feel that's okay. Like, you'd never do that in a conference or at a trade show. You would never just say, hey, my name's Viveka and you should totally buy my stuff right now, right? You'd get to know the person first. You'd warm up to them a little bit. And when the time was right, you might tell people who you are. And if if you're listening for triggers, you might hear a buying or a selling trigger and have an opportunity then to create a conversation. So sales folks need to learn how to use LinkedIn that way. But like I said, I think COVID's making us understand that we're all just human and we're all having a similar relationship. And we can, for the first time ever, empathize towards what people's points of pain are. We get it because we're going through it ourselves in some way, shape, or form. And I think that will allow for more genuine conversations.
Right. I love that. Yeah, the bane of my life is this automation on LinkedIn, connect and then and and I know that they're trying to kind of control that more and working through all of that. But it's such a shame. It's such a brilliant platform, especially since Microsoft took it over.
It is
enhancements, and I think this time has actually helped it move even further away from recruitment and more to community building. And I think that they can leverage that even more, but they need to kind of like really kind of ramp down on the automation and the spammers out there, because it's just lazy. It's just completely lazy, as you say. Salespeople should know better. You'd never do that face to face.
It's about quality, not quantity. And I mean, it is so funny. The funniest automation message I got was, "Dear Mr. Rosen," like, I'm not a Mr. "Dear Mr. Rosen, I see you're in the office supply cleaning industry. If you want leads like this, I can help you with LinkedIn automation." And I'm like, okay, like, if I was going to buy it before, I'm certainly not going to buy it now, because you got my name wrong. You got my industry wrong. You clearly don't know what I do for a living. And why in the world would I want automation like this? The automation of LinkedIn drives me insane, because it gives LinkedIn a bad rap. And then people are like, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work. But if you can create that quality conversation by actually taking some time to get to know the person first, it can be an incredibly powerful and successful, sales tool for you. But people just try to go with easy.
And it's not easy in the end, because it just ruins your reputation.
It's interesting. LinkedIn's slowly releasing different tools. So they've got LinkedIn Live, which I finally got, but I think only because I do a course on LinkedIn Learning for them. But things like LinkedIn Live, and they're releasing LinkedIn stories. So similar to Instagram stories and Facebook stories, which, you know, it's interesting. I'm on a couple discussion forums, and some people think it's a great idea. Some people think it's a horrible idea. But you can't fake it, right? You can't fake a live. You can't fake a story. And so for the people who utilize those new tools and use them well, you can't automate it. So for people who utilize those tools and use them well, it's going to, I think, open up a whole new opportunity, because it helps to build that KLT, that know, like, and trust, right? All things being equal, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so I absolutely love that there are these new tools. And will salespeople use them the right way? We'll see.
Well, they've always got us to give them a bit of training.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the stories. And my first thought there was, you know, there's a certain kudos to LinkedIn. And there's, you know, Facebook and perhaps Instagram, you know, there's a casualness about that. Instagram
Yes.
very much lifestyle. And the problem
Yeah.
is when they all have the same functionality, people forget the nuances between the differences on the platforms. And so kind of really personal things are starting to go on to LinkedIn, you know. Everyone's sharing everything, their name that I really don't want to know. And, you know, and I like the fact that I need to go on to other platforms to discover different things about the same person. I discover things on Facebook I would never discover on LinkedIn.
Exactly. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's my main worry with everyone having the same personality. I don't know what your view is.
Yeah, fortunately, most people don't use the LinkedIn timeline like they use Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and, you know, everything else out there. Some people do. You still see the math quizzes. And then the irritating thing is, you know, the math quizzes get so much activity that they stay on the timeline and people think they work. Now, most of the activity is math quizzes don't belong on LinkedIn, right? In comments, but it doesn't matter. Every time you make a comment like that, it gets more visibility to the post. So, you know, hopefully people will, like, to your point, understand that the LinkedIn is a business audience. And so when they do their not their lives, but do their stories, if we get stories, that it will be more, you know, business culture related, and maybe a little bit that lets people into their personal lives. But to your point, hopefully not private lives, because there are some things like I would never share on LinkedIn that I share on Facebook. So yeah, I'm hoping that people don't cross that bridge. And there will be some people on LinkedIn who get access to both live and to stories who don't even have Facebook or Instagram. So, you know, maybe they'll use it the right way. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Cross fingers.
Cross fingers.
Okay, well, let's talk a bit about diversity. What's your view? You're a woman in sales, and we've all got stories, haven't we? Do you think that there's been enough progress in the B2B selling industry?
I mean, we're getting there. It's, you know, any day I scroll through LinkedIn and there's a webinar, and we're lucky if there's a woman on the panel, right? It's 5 men and 1 woman, or woman, or, you know, 5 men and no women. So as representatives, I don't think that women are getting enough visibility in the B2B sales world. Now, having said that, there are some phenomenal B2B sales leaders out there. I know you've had Lori on already, Lori Richardson, who started Women Sales Pros. And so, and then from that, Lauren started Girls Club, # Girls Club. And so, you know, I think there is starting to be more support for women in the sales role. But I mean, let's just face it, you close your eyes and you think B2B salesperson, you're going to think dude, right? So we're getting there. It's what I will say is that the women I know who are in sales roles freaking crush it, right? They tend to be easily equal to the best B2B male colleagues that they've got. So any company that I've worked with that has those female B2B sales leaders or salespeople, not even leaders, they're killing it. We do a lot of sales training, and it's about probably between 80-20 to 60-40 male to female, but the women are more engaged in the program. They show more pipeline in general. They're just more active, and they're more active learners. And I think that makes them better salespeople in the long run. And yes, as women, we also have to overcome, I don't have this problem, but some women still have the little old me, fears, and I can't put myself out there. Well, then you probably shouldn't be in sales. But the women who can overcome that and are super confident in who they are and really confident in their product, they're able to listen to the seller, and that makes a big difference, I think, in the whole and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but there are certain qualities I think that women have inherently that can make them a better salesperson if they can get over some of the other personality or cultural traits that we maybe grew up with.
Yeah, I understand you. So who is your hero or shero?
Yeah. So speaking of, we've mentioned Lori Richardson. Another person, Jill Conrath, she's just an amazing saleswoman, speaker, author, and she's also, I reached out to her like in my early days, kind of, oh, Jill Conrath. And not only did she, respond to my invitation, she actually got on the phone with me for like an hour. And then I went and I was speaking at an event. She sought me out and said, hello, I'm Jill Conrath. And I'm like, oh, so, and now she's a good friend, and I absolutely adore her. She's human. She's absolutely down to earth. And yet she's just this amazing role model and this amazing mind. So Jill's one of them. Kind of a shero. I have met Brene a few times, but she wouldn't know who I was. But Brene Brown, I think, is putting out, even before COVID, was putting out really, really good stuff, especially for women, because, we do have, we do have some personality and some inherent traits that we, need to get over to be more confident in our lives. And I think, Brene just addresses all of that unapologetically. So she's another shero of mine that I have.
Excellent. So how can listeners get hold of you besides, just go onto LinkedIn?
Yeah.
They're going to find you. And I do engage with your content. I always learn things. There's all these kind of little things that no one knows about that you're able to share. So I kind of thank you for that. Brilliant.
Oh, thank you. My ninja tricks. Yeah. Honestly, probably the best way to find me is if you just Google LinkedIn expert. My LinkedIn profile should be like the first or second or third thing you see. So for sure, or if you do Viveka von Rosen, I, take up the first 18 pages. So you can find me that way. But yeah, for sure, reach out, let me know, always customize the invitation. Let me know that you heard me on this podcast. I'd be more than happy to connect with you. And then you'll be able to message me and any questions that you have. Or if you just go to vengresso.com, you'll find me in the About section, and you can even book time with me if you have any questions about LinkedIn.
Brilliant. You're always so generous. Love to hear from you. Thank you for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast for Viveka von Rosen.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.